So the deep state target list.
Yeah, how did you compile?
How did I compile that? Well, first we started off with like, okay, deep state. Okay, what is that? Let's take a look at all these institutions. Wait, I may be in a position to know a little bit about these institutions because my last full-time kind of assignment, if you will, as a contractor was to teach intelligence analysis and what our entire national security apparatus looks like across all branches of government. Article 1, the House and Senate Armed Services Intel Committees, as well as the judiciary when it comes
Isn't
to the
Maxine
FISA.
Waters on that?
Um,
She was.
Yes, I believe so.
Say no more.
Yeah,
That's
but
all we need
the reason
to know.
why I paused to think, I know her as Mad Maxine. So I had to pause and think, yep, that's some people pronounce it the way you do, but I think the more appropriate pronunciation is Mad Maxine Waters. And yes, other Californians are on there, such as Eric Swallowswell, Adam Bullshiff, Gavin Newscomb, Nancy Piglosi, right? It's hammer time, baby.
They really got their hooks into the public's money. That's what I think they run for. That's the only thing they give a damn about is getting their hooks into the public's money.
Well, let me go ahead and turn this
phone
off.
Oh,
we have some
We were
interruptions
just
here.
getting into this.
It's a Skype video.
Yeah, I know. So I usually do a show every day called the Raiklin Report.
Yeah,
At the
I've
time
seen
that
it.
he's calling me, and I forget to tell him that my producer that it ain't going to happen today. He's going to know because I'm not going to answer.
Yeah, you're doing the Roseanne report today.
I think Roseanne is a little bit more important.
Depends what.
Well, you should let your staff know you're.
I'm the worst person in the history of humanity.
See,
I mean, if you do a search online,
Yeah.
you put an I, it auto-populates to Ivan Raiklin, the worst person in the history of humanity. If you put an R, then it's Roseanne, the worst person in the history of humanity.
Right. Who is the worst person in the world right now? In your opinion. Now, who is the worst living person in the world as far as someone who opposes the, human rights of, let's just keep it local. Someone who, hates that the American people are free. Who's our biggest enemy right now? The worst person in our country right now.
In our country, you said.
Well, I mean, or the world.
Hillary Clinton.
Let me back up. Can you give me like 2 minutes to answer this?
Think about it. Think about it.
So I know the answer. I just need a little bit of context to help develop why I'm going to answer it the way I want to answer it. Remember, I'm an analyst, etc. Blah, blah, blah. In the world, you have 193 countries, right, as state actors. Then you have all these business interests and all the billionaires. When you take a look at that, and you have to decide who has the most influence and then who has the most nefarious influence against the people. So under that framework, it comes down to what? 193 countries, 5 are on the UN Permanent Security Council roster, which is China, Russia, UK, France, and the United States. Obviously, United States normally would be considered to Americans as a friendly ally. Well, that's not the case. So I would say that the U.S. government right now is contending with China because a lot of the senior officials within our U.S. federal government are complicit in subordinate entities acting on behalf of China's interest in order to benefit themselves, meaning the Biden criminal syndicate, right? Meaning, and you asked me the question of how did I come up with the list? Well, it's by category. So as you're looking through nefarious actions by institutions, and because I know these institutions very well, having taught about every single aspect of the national security apparatus, it comes down to this. In 2016, we saw Crossfire Hurricane, which was the illegal spying operation on the Trump campaign, specifically with the sole purpose of vectoring in through Carter Page with an illegal FISA warrant that was through duped, manipulated Woods file that was presented to the FISA court.
And they all knew it was fake.
And so the names of the individuals that produced that are Kevin Kleinsmith, Joe Pientka, Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, Jim Comey, Catherine Seaman, and the list goes on, right? So that's a category known as the illegal spying op. And then there was another category known as the 39 people that unmasked General Flynn to spy on him to get him to lie or to get him fired. Well, who said to get him to lie or to get him fired? Obama. It was the assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, Bill Priestap, who was operating and taking notes at the behest of in a meeting that he had with the deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, and his director, which was Jim Comey. So as you start to develop, and somebody like myself that I know the system probably better than almost anybody short of General Flynn, and maybe in certain regards Kash Patel knows a little bit more on certain aspects of it, and Devin Nunes does.
Right.
But I would say that I'm kind of in that mix based on the experience that I come from and knowing the system for 25 years and the people to fact check it and kind of researching it and knowing it. So when you know that, you can start to get down to the granular pixel level of which individual did what when. And that's literally all I've been doing to go ahead and fight our domestic enemies. To answer your question, and so that's why I come up with this list of the illegal spying, the cover-up to the illegal spying, the Mueller team, the impeachment hoax 1 team, impeachment hoax 2 team, the whistleblower, the fake whistleblower with Eric Ciaramella, right? And his attorneys, and the Vindman traitor twin brothers, right? And now his wife is this close to getting on my list based on her comments over the last couple days.
She deleted them and apologized, so she's fine.
So, and then you have the COVIDiot element, the Fauci-funded lab incident that resulted in the destruction of the U.S. economy. So you have all these different components, and I created the list. And then I took that list and decided, let's take a look and see with my team who has a Twitter account. Because especially after Elon purchased Twitter, I was like, you know what? We could probably start digging into their communications because Elon's on board, and he's on board much more than he was when he purchased it now that he's endorsed Trump. So why don't we just take a look at all of their communications? And now that Elon's moved from California to Texas, it creates a new legal opportunity for content creators like yourself, like all the ones that I'm communicating with this week, whether it's Dinesh or Alex Jones at InfoWars or Blaze, Glenn Beck's outfit, or Steven Crowder. I was with Lara Logan earlier today at lunch. And so there is now, as a Texan, as a Texas resident, there needs to be thought and dialogue with Ken Paxton as the AG and the appropriate state committee chairman, Brian Hughes, that has jurisdiction to kind of look into the workings of the tech company known as X now, of what was done previously in that company to censor people like you and me, to then create a legal mechanism to apply accountability retribution to those nefarious actors on former X, or excuse me, on what used to be Twitter, and then look into all their communications. And in that process, if we can get that out in the coming days, weeks, it will have a massive positive impact to a free, fair, and transparent election.
Can I ask you a question? Do these the mother of all Twitter files that you're talking about, have you seen them, or is this something you're asking for?
I'm asking for something.
Okay.
And let me contextualize it.
Yeah.
I've done the research myself. I am almost certain, using my intel analysis language, I'm almost certain that the communications that will be found in there are going to be so earth-shattering, meaning everything that I've already assessed about, we will now have the full stop evidence to support all of the conspiracy theories that they labeled us on are going to be conspiracy beyond a reasonable doubt for not only criminal convictions, but more importantly, civil.
But were they using Twitter? Because I assume they'd be using
Jim Baker.
Let's summarize the Twitter files that have already been released. What have we found from them?
Everything?
No. They've only looked into, I had a 5-hour meeting with Matt Taibbi about a month ago.
Love him.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that conversation, this is what came out. They only looked into some emails. They only looked at internal Slack channels, deliberations, right? They never looked into the direct messages of Twitter accounts. And when I asked him about that, he told me, we were told to sign a document saying that we would not look into Twitter DMs. And I responded to him asking, was it Jim Baker, the Deputy General Counsel, that wrote that document telling you shouldn't look at Jim Baker's very own DMs? And his response was, ooh, that is a good question.
And who is Jim Baker?
Jim Baker, from 2014 to 2018, was the general counsel of the FBI. What does that mean? That means he was the senior lawyer that authorized that illegal spying operation on Carter Page, General Flynn, George Papadopoulos, Paul Manafort, and the entire Trump campaign. The illegal zero predicate. This is not my words.
No.
These are the words of the Inspector General reports. This is the words of the Durham report.
The Durham report.
It was all illegitimate, illegal.
I love Durham's questioning, and when they were questioning Durham, and he's just like, "No, it wasn't like that."
Yeah, I was sitting right behind him.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
I didn't see you, but it was so calm the way he did it. And then the way they tried to frame it, especially Shifty, and he's like, "No, it was nothing like that."
Yeah. So John Durham released nothing that at least I didn't know. Like there was nothing there. He actually released about maybe 20 to 30% of what I've already investigated.
Right.
And so it was disappointing for somebody like me because I've been following this closely. I went to all of his trials. Like this guy is like, he's a limited hangout to protect the regime. That's all John Durham was. He was just there to make it look like for the passive or even detailed observer that, oh yeah, there's something's going to happen.
Yeah,
all hell's going to break loose. There's going to be accountability. Accountability happens when both political parties are in agreement to make it happen.
So you see